Previously on our adventure, Corporal Kim made a bold bet that Minjun would climb the ranks to sergeant in just 1 month. Fast forward to the gym, where oddly colored dumbbells and weighted bars are meticulously organized, with a massive sign declaring that using the redstone equipment without a spotter is strictly forbidden. The peculiar hue of the gear is explained, but Minjun, he's lifting the heaviest redstone bar solo for his squats because, let's face it, he doesn't need a spotter. As he rises with the bar, his ripped physique, typically concealed under casual attire, is revealed in all its glory. After knocking out a few sets of dumbbell curls, Minjun sets down the hefty redstone weights to admire his gains. Despite the special gear aiding his bulk-up journey, his stats haven't skyrocketed. He's wistful for the days in Isgard, where he could level up his skills and become an overpowered warrior. In this world, he's convinced he'd be a Super Saiyan if only he could level up faster. For now, he endures the slow grind of stat increases. Just then, a notification window pops up with a surprise: a new skill named Power has been unlocked, boosting his strength stat by 5 points. Initially, it seems like a basic and somewhat lame skill, but Minjun is thrilled to have something new, knowing he can level it up over time. Meanwhile, a private arrives at the door, salutes the corporal with a mix of stiffness and nerves, and informs him that the platoon commander is looking for him. High on the excitement of unlocking a new skill, Minjun thanks the private with twinkling eyes and agrees to see the commander. The private is left bewildered by Minjun's odd expression, while Minjun cheerfully gets dressed. The private can't help but wonder if everyone on base has secretly lost their marbles. Next stop, the administrative office in the main building. Minjun strides in, salutes the platoon commander, and confirms his presence. The commander, brimming with excitement, waves him over eagerly. As Minjun approaches, the commander rises, assuring him that there's nothing serious to discuss and suggesting they continue the conversation in the counseling office. En route to the counseling office, the commander inquires about Minjun's life as a corporal, noting it's been a week since his promotion. Minjun shares that he's enjoying it immensely and congratulates the commander on his own advancement. The commander, pleased, attributes his promotion to Minjun's handling of the middle bed incident. Once seated, the commander expresses his gratitude to Minjun for his contributions and hands him a file, explaining that it's from the battalion commander in recognition of Minjun's achievements and perfect score on the advancement exam. Inside the file is an award of excellence for Minjun. The commander apologizes for the casual presentation but assures Minjun that this award is a monumental milestone in his military career. Minjun's ears perk up, and he inquires if such achievements can earn him further exceptions. The commander isn't certain but mentions that few have received this award as early as Minjun, and even fewer have collected multiple awards of excellence. Undeterred, Minjun asks if gathering 10 of these awards could fast-track him to the next rank. The commander falls silent, pondering if Minjun thinks these awards are handed out like Amazon coupon codes. Meanwhile, Minjun daydreams about all the extra gaming time he could enjoy with such achievements. A few days have passed, and now we're standing in front of an underpass with a dungeon gate wide open. The commanders are briefing their units about their mission. The platoon commander announces that their squad is tasked with clearing this dungeon. Familiar faces abound as he reassures everyone that if they perform their duties as trained, they'll walk out unscathed. He also reminds them that they should already be familiar with this type of dungeon. Meanwhile, Sergeant First Class Kim Minji drops a crate of supplies. The platoon collectively grimaces at the sight, and for good reason. The platoon commander pulls out a face mask from the crate, revealing the dungeon's charming name, the Monster Rat Nest, basically the world's worst sewer tour. Inside the sewer dungeon, the units trudge through toxic, murky waters. At the back are our trio: Corporal Kim Minjun, Corporal Ponytail, and Private First Class Lee Dongjin. As they gripe about the stench, we see Sergeant Lee and 2nd Platoon Commander Kim Chalman leading the way, with Sergeant First Class Kim Minji and the privates bringing up the rear. Here's the lowdown on this place. The Monster Rat Nest Dungeon, fondly known as the sewers by the Hunter Corps, isn't classified as highly dangerous. However, it spawns over 200 monster rats, and the cramped tunnels make firearms useless, turning it into a tricky challenge. Sergeant Lee raises his fist, signaling the platoon commander that they're approaching a danger zone. The commander passes the warning to Lee Dongjin and the others. The group finds themselves in a relatively open area within the dungeon. Sergeant Lee points out that this clearing has only 2 entrances, suggesting they lure the monsters here for a decisive battle. From the mini-map, we see the platoon entering from the left, with the only other entrance directly opposite. The platoon commander agrees with Sergeant Lee's plan and signals the units to start preparing the bait. An aerial view shows the platoon as someone brings the bait crate to the commander. The private delivering the crate is from the same platoon. The stench from the closed box alone makes Corporal Ponytail gag. The dungeon's foul odor, combined with the special gas masks from the hunter corps, creates an environment where the hunters can't perform at their best. As the platoon commander opens the crate, an ominous and disgusting stench wafts out. The bait turns out to be a rotting banana, smelling worse than your uncle's farts at family gatherings. The bait is so vile that the author had to censor it for your viewing pleasure. Kim Minjun and Corporal Ponytail recoil at the sight. Ponytail quips that no wonder the rat monsters reek if they're eating stuff like this. Nonetheless, on the commander's orders, the units begin setting the bait to lure out the monsters. The stage is set for a clash with the sewer-dwelling monstrosities. The commander steps forward to plant the baits in every corner of the cave, but something odd catches his eye. As he moves towards a corner, his foot brushes against a sinister pile of bones. He recoils in shock, but the real confusion hits when he sees the entire floor covered in bones that unmistakably belong to the monster rats they came here to exterminate. As the platoon commander bends down to inspect, Purple Hair shouts a warning. A swarm of monster rats is charging in from the second entrance. Sensing the imminent battle, the commander quickly shifts priorities, ordering all units to take their positions. The shield unit steps forward in unison to protect the attack unit from any ambush. Sergeant First Class Kim Minji leads the shield unit, while the platoon commander directs the attacking hunters ready to face the oncoming enemies. Corporal Ponytail and Purple Hair start betting on who will kill the most monsters, showcasing their betting addiction. Sergeant Lee cautions them to stay focused, but Ponytail ignores the warning and invites him to join the bet. This oddly brings a smile to Sergeant Lee's face, as the playful banter lightens the tense mood. Meanwhile, Minjun remains laser-focused on the task ahead. The rotting bananas have worked better than expected, as monster rats pour out in hordes from the cave's other end. The platoon commander draws his sword and commands all units to hold the defense line and not break formation. This means engaging the monsters while maintaining their positions. As the rats leap with their gnarly claws, Minjun feels a thrill of excitement. Purple Hair decapitates a monster rat with a single strike, while Ponytail takes down 3 at once with his dual-wielding weapons. Sergeant Lee, always a cut above, effortlessly incapacitates his share of monsters with his iron knuckles. Minjun, observing from the sidelines, probably ranks his comrades in a mental tier list. Two more standouts are the sergeants of the 2nd platoon, Sergeant Kim Jeongti with his warhammer and Sergeant Chody Wook, a master of dual-wielding katanas. Even the once pathetic corporal is handling several monsters at once. As Minjun watches the corporal who once bullied him, he's ambushed by 3 skeevers. However, these puny monsters aren't worth his full attention. Without even looking, Minjun clubs the rats right in their faces, decapitating all 3 with a single, swift swing. Some monster rats manage to slip past the fighting soldiers, but the last line of defense stands ready, Sergeant First Class Kim Minji and the platoon commander himself. With them standing guard, no monster will touch the shield unit. Minjun continues his whack-a-mole game with the monsters, noting the impressive area coverage by the top-ranking officers of the platoon. He finally focuses on another standout, Lee Dongjin. Dongjin's cross-patterned swordsmanship is evident as he slices through the rats. Minjun, proud of his friend's progress, smiles. Sergeant Lee, also smiling from the back, recognizes Dongjin's potential. When a call for extra hands comes, Dongjin is the first to respond, while Corporal Purple Hair are still busy slicing up rats. After downing a monster, Corporal glances at Minjun and Dongjin, possibly wondering if Minjun can make him stronger too. But this isn't the time for daydreaming. He wipes his sword clean of blood and readies for the remaining enemies. Just as the rat corpses pile up, the shield unit spots something going horribly wrong at the rear. A fresh horde of monster rats is charging in from the rear entrance, which the shield unit was supposed to cover. The commander hears the signal from the privates and shouts a warning, "Get ready for monster wave number 2. He springs into action, commanding the 1st and 4th squads to handle the rear while ordering the privates to fall back, shields up, and avoid solo engagements. The 4th squad's corporals quickly arrive to help, diving into the rat massacre with their various melee weapons. After a flurry of slicing and dicing, the soldiers start to relax as the enemies are nearly wiped out. However, Minjun senses something off. A surge of demonic energy in the air grabs his attention. The gas masks had masked it before, but now it's unmistakable. The source, a mound under Corpor's feet. Just as Minjun realizes this, the mound begins to crumble. He shouts a warning, but it's too late. As Corporal looks down, the ground erupts in a massive column of dust and debris, sending soldiers flying. The platoon commander almost loses his cool when he sees the enormous mutated rat emerging. This irregular monster has the classic rat teeth, huge side fangs, and an extra pair of glowing, ominous purple eyes. The commander deduces that the earlier rat bones were the result of this monster feeding on others. But no time for deductions. Now the monstrous rat is eyeing Corporal, who's too petrified to move. The commander, paralyzed with fear, can only shout at Corporal to get up and run. But the Corporal is too terrified, his legs useless. The monster swings its razor-sharp claws at him. Thinking his end is near, the Corporal tries to shield himself one last time. You'd expect Minjun to save the day, but it's Lee Dongjin who leaps into action first, deflecting the monster's blow, though his weapon is knocked away. Dongjin grabs the Corporal's shoulder, urging him to get up and flee. The furious monster shrieks, ready to strike again. While the platoon commander shouts in fear, Minjun finally springs into action. With his shield in hand, he leaps high, aiming to mount the monster's back. As the beast corners its prey, Minjun prepares for a devastating shield bash. Noticing the monster's defocused eyes and fearless actions, he confirms it's possessed by demonic energy. Minjun transforms into a human comet, slamming the monster's face into the ground. Lee Dongjin and Corporal jump back, shielding their eyes from the debris. Emerging from the dust, Minjun gives Dongjin a thumbs up for his valiant effort. Dongjin smiles in relief, knowing his friend will handle the rest. He takes the Corporal and rushes back to the defense line, where the platoon commander is shouting for Minjun to retreat, and Kim Minji orders the remaining corporals to form up. Minjun, however, faces the irregular monster, which is back on its feet, baring its fangs. It unleashes an attack filled with demonic energy, sending a shock wave of purple energy in all directions. The wave causes stalactites to break and fall, creating a rain of rocks around the platoon commander. The dust kicked up by the falling rocks acts as a smoke screen, allowing Minjun to thank the monster for the convenient cover. The gigantic rat goes for another claw attack, almost as if it's ripping through the fabric of reality itself. However, its opponent is a literal god among men. Minjun's eyes glint with his own brand of demonic energy, allowing him to go all out now that the monster has provided a convenient smoke screen. In a heartbeat, he rockets forward like a bullet, striking the monster rat in the leg and shattering it completely. He follows up with a shield rush, bashing the monster with such immense force that it's knocked back at supersonic speed. But Minjun isn't done yet. He tosses aside his shield and dashes towards the monster to deliver the finishing blows. He unleashes a barrage of superhuman punches, leaving the monster screeching in agony. After a few seconds, he pauses to inspect the now lifeless creature. Its muscles are caved in, pieces of its ears are missing, and nearly all its teeth are gone. Satisfied, Minjun begins harvesting the demonic energy from the corpse. The energy leaves the rat in waves, gathering in his hand as a cackling ball and fueling him with even more power. As the remaining energy gets sucked out, the rat's eyes lose their purple glow. A notification window pops up, informing Minjun that his demonic energy stat has increased by 1 level. Minjun didn't expect the creature to hold so much demonic energy, So as a gesture of politeness, he takes out his metal bat and thanks the monster rat for its loot before proceeding to beat it to a pulp. Our boy will keep getting stronger, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop him. But he wonders if anyone witnessed his power. The fight inside the sewer dungeon is over, and the scene shifts outside to the base where the army is guarding the entrance. The boys from the second platoon are exhausted, catching their breaths on the road before heading home. Purple Hair managed to pull ahead of Ponytail in their bet and keeps telling him to admit defeat. Ponytail, though begrudgingly accepting the loss, knows these two will bet on something again. Meanwhile, the platoon commander is on the phone with HQ, providing a dramatic update. He details the irregular monster attack and reassures them that all squads have made it out safely. Glancing at Minjun, he adds that the monster was defeated by a member of his platoon. Our hero, busy trying to scrub the stink off his clothes, looks like he's regretting his decision as much as someone who just scratched an itch in a very awkward place. As the commander requests reinforcements, Minjun continues to futilely dust off the stink from his uniform. Ponytail approaches with a grumble, bemoaning the bizarre situations they always seem to face on the front lines. He sits down and thanks Minjun for saving everyone in the dungeon, admitting he was paralyzed with fear when he saw the irregular monster. Minjun, ever the gentleman, responds that he was merely doing his duty and apologizes for taking action without orders. Ponytail, reflecting on the monstrosity, acknowledges that orders wouldn't have mattered in such a crisis. He thanks Minjun again for his heroic actions that saved Corporal and Dongjin. Concerned, he asks if Minjun is alright and if he was hurt. Minjun nods, appreciating Ponytail's concern, though his gratitude is subtly masked by his focus on not smelling like a sewer. The platoon commander, growing more curious, asks Minjun the same question, his suspicion about Minjun's abilities growing. Minjun, maintaining his composure, assures him he's fine with no scratches. Ponytail, in disbelief, wonders if Minjun is even human. The commander sighs and orders Minjun to meet him in his office later for a detailed discussion. At the administrative office, Minjun sits across from the commander, who demands a detailed report on how he defeated the monster. Minjun hesitates, unsure what to write beyond the fact that he used his fists when his shield didn't work. The commander, noting Minjun's hesitation, directly asks if he defeated the monster with his bare hands. Minjun, caught in the act, reluctantly admits it. The commander is taken aback by Minjun's strength and agility stats, realizing they far surpass those of an average sergeant. He muses that with such exceptional stats, Minjun could have been in the Hunter Military Academy but recalls Minjun's high school dropout status. He advises Minjun to consider taking the GED tests to advance his career, but Minjun, who detests studying, prefers to rank up through achievements. The commander, understanding Minjun's stance, offers support if he changes his mind about the GED. Pleased to have such a reliable individual under his command, the commander dismisses Minjun to get some rest. Before Minjun leaves, the commander thanks him for his bravery, acknowledging that his actions likely saved the platoon. Minjun humbly responds that he only did what was necessary and exits the office. In the hallway, Minjun encounters Li Dongjin and Corporal, who is still bandaged. The Corporal, eager to join Dongjin's special training under Minjun's guidance, nervously explains how he learned about it and why he wants to join despite his injuries. The Corporal admits he believes Dongjin's rapid growth must be due to Minjun's training and wishes to improve similarly. Minjun, unimpressed and slightly perplexed, questions how the Corporal found out and why he's so keen to join, given his current state. He tries to be more honest, but his pride as the former bully won't let him. The dude can't even look our hero in the eyes when he says that he wants to join their training to become stronger. It's taking him a lot of courage to even voice these words, but at least his heart is in the right place. Now, we tend to forget because Minjun has been acting nice most of the time, but our hero is a natural-born bully. Even right now, he's having a really hard time holding back his amusement. In the end, we can see his inner devil stand behind him as he tells the Corporal that he would never accept him so easily. With a wicked smile on his face, he actually calls the Corporal by his full name, him Gwangsik, and lets him know that there is a certain order to doing such things. Gwangsik knows exactly what Minjun wants, but he's too embarrassed to say the words. After a moment, the apologetic corporal finally decides to swallow his pride for the sake of getting stronger. He bows down in front of Dongjin, aggressively thanking him for saving him in the dungeon and apologizing for bullying him previously. Of course, our boy couldn't be happier to see this, but Dongjin is starting to get nervous because he is a junior. The corporal finally becomes fully sincere and apologizes once again for all his previous actions. He states that he is serious about training alongside Dongjin and reveals that he would like to become a non-commissioned officer due to some personal circumstances. Since Dongjin is such a sympathizing homie, he turns to Minjun, telling him that he doesn't mind if the corporal joins them in their training. But of course, Minjun doesn't share the same feelings. He stays silent for a while, which starts to confuse Dongjin, and then he finally opens his mouth in an ominous fashion. He replies that he's not fine with taking in the corporal, which comes as a surprise to both men. Gwangsik feels dejected, but he understands that Minjun wouldn't be comfortable around him due to his past actions. So he just thanks the two for saving his life in the dungeon and promises to never bother them again. He then turns around to leave with slumped shoulders. The dude looks like he will never recover from his emotional damage. But then our hero tells him that he can take him in, but only on one condition. That perks up the ears of the corporal as he immediately turns his head to hear what Minjun has to say. But in all honesty, no one would have expected him to say the word pigeon. Of course, a big question mark dangles on the corporal's face as he has no idea what Minjun means by pigeon. But the misunderstanding soon gets cleared when our hero makes the face of a divorced auntie whose only hobby is to ruin others' marriages and tells the corporal that he will accept him if he acts like a pigeon for an entire day. Gwangsik's head starts boiling with rage when he hears that, but Minjun tells him that he would never accept him if he doesn't comply. So as enraged and angry as he is, the corporal starts puckering up his lips. Every single vein on his head starts to pop out. His eyes start to twitch, and all of his teeth grind against each other as he starts to slowly coo like a pigeon. The scene then switches to a beautiful night, a fantasy-like cathedral, and to full moons in the starry sky. It's pretty clear that we're now in the world of Isgard. A creaky trolley is being pushed around by a muscular man in a Spartan helmet. The object on the trolley is covered in a cloth. He stops the trolley just before reaching a woman in white clothes, and when the woman thanks the muscular Spartan for his good work, we get a proper look at her familiar back. This woman is none other than the saintess we haven't seen since episode 1. The Spartan man just stares silently at the saintess, his battle-hardened scars clearly visible under the moonlight. The saintess turns around, expecting to hear a response from the Spartan warrior, but when he says nothing, she asks him directly if there's something he wishes to say to her. Finally, the warrior speaks. He asks the saintess how long she's planning to keep doing this. Hearing that, she steps forward in his direction, but instead of standing in front of him, she walks past him towards the trolley that he brought here. Her face is now fully visible under the bright light of the moon, her features holy and beautiful as one would expect from a person of such charisma. As she slides the curtain on the package to take a look inside, I think I speak for everyone when I say that we can all appreciate this elegant view. What peeks from behind the curtain are the purple glowing eyes of a beast whose angry growls can audibly be heard by the saintess. She lets go of the curtain to conceal the monstrosity and lets out a small exhale of satisfaction. The concerned warrior once again tries to call out to the saintess, as if trying to convince her that she should reconsider her actions. But then the holy maiden holds her left hand in front with her palm open, and under her command, a massive purple magic circle opens up in the middle of the room, the same magic circle that was once used to transport Kim Minjun back to Earth. The circle draws the abundant magic energy from the surrounding air, and the saintess speaks to the Spartan warrior once again. She says that she's sending another gift to the man who decided to leave them, but her next sentence makes the warrior reel back in surprise. Much like Minjun, this saintess knows how to change her expressions fast, and with the devil riding her shoulder, she proudly claims that there's no such thing as too much anger when it comes to revenge. So, I guess now we know why our boy kept running into irregular monsters inside every dungeon. Back on Earth, our scene opens with a soldier frantically digging away with a shovel. Surprise! Surprise, it's none other than the sergeant from the 2nd platoon, and right beside him is none other than Purple Hair. Fresh off a treacherous dungeon, it looks like the army's idea of a warm welcome is making them break a sweat erecting a new camp. When the sergeant finally collapses in a heap, looking like he's auditioning for a damsel in distress role, Purple Hair chimes in with a brilliant observation. "Hey, do you think all these new camps actually do anything in the grand monster fighting scheme of things?" As they glance over at their fellow diggers, even the orange-haired sergeant seems to question the camp's practical value. But, as soldiers, their only job is to follow orders, not to question the functionality of their manual labor. Just then, a military vehicle pulls up, and you can practically see the sergeant and Purple Hair's jaws hitting the floor. Their expressions say it all, they're in for even more work. And, indeed, the truck delivers a load of mysterious material called stetl. Cue the collective groan from the soldiers as they realize it's time to haul more cubes. Kim Minjun and his student are also in the trenches, transporting the stetl cubes to their new homes. Enter the newest squad member, Corporal Wang Shik, who's clearly struggling under the weight of a single cube. Seizing his moment to shine, he starts explaining why this material is called stetl. "Well, folks," he begins, "stetl is actually a nickname we soldiers gave it because we're still debating whether it's stone or metal. This seemingly innocent cube is ridiculously heavy and tough, which is exactly why the military uses it for building camps in the middle of nowhere. So there you have it, stetl, making soldiers question their life choices one cube at a time." As Wang Shik is about to delve into the mysteries of stetl, he spots Minjun nonchalantly carrying 2 of the cubes on his shoulders like they're made of foam. Watching Minjun casually balance 1 cube on his right shoulder and the other on his left, Wang Shik is left slack-jawed. But then again, this is Minjun we're talking about. When it comes to him, anything seems possible. Realizing he might never truly understand his extraordinary friend, Wang Shik shrugs it off and mutters to himself that he was just trying to explain a few things in case anyone was curious. Spoiler alert, I have a feeling he'll be explaining a lot more in the future. The soldiers continue their grueling work, each shipping in to transport the special stetl material to the camp. Minjun's heroics include carrying up to 4 cubes at once, which definitely leaves everyone's jaws on the floor. But hey, after witnessing Minjun's feats, this is just another day at the office. When the truck is finally emptied, Kim Minji grants everyone a 10-minute break, and the weary soldiers slump down by the road. But the rest doesn't last long. Kim Minji pulls the platoon commander aside and reports an alarming tidbit: a Tinkin dungeon has popped up in their area. Cue the collective panic hits as if someone announced the end of the world. The soldiers, suddenly resembling a herd of frantic cats, demand to confirm this news and beg Kim Minji to let them skip the next raid. Their desperation is palpable, and they even start clinging to Kim Minji as if he's their last hope. Minjun, watching this chaos unfold, is left puzzled about the fuss. Wang Shik, ever the know-it-all, notices Minjun's confusion and, with a smirk, gears up for another one of his infamous explanations. As the camera zooms in on Wang Shik's face, his trademark chuckle confirms what we all suspected: he's about to deliver a monologue. "Alright, listen up." Wang Shik begins with his usual flair. Tinkin dungeons are a special breed. Hunters call them that for a reason. First off, these dungeons are huge. Secondly, they're teeming with monsters more than your average dungeon. Thirdly, and this is the kicker, they don't have bosses or high-risk monsters. So, when a dungeon meets these criteria, it's dubbed a Tinkin dungeon. They're ideal for hunters to get some real battle experience, which is why they're often used for divisional training. There's even a fancy name for it: hunter field maneuvers. Minjun listens, intrigued but still somewhat puzzled by Wang Shik's constant need to explain things. Wang Shik, clearly embracing his role as the resident explainer, sidles up and whispers that he just felt like sharing because someone might be curious. The life of an explanation character in man was never a dull moment. As Minjun ponders the importance of hunter field maneuvers, he glances at the frantic sergeants still begging Kim Minji to save them from the impending chaos. If their desperation is anything to go by, maybe Minjun can skip the training and still come out on top. Just as Minji is on the verge of losing his patience with the whining soldiers, the platoon commander interjects with a dose of reality. "You don't have the luxury of skipping this training," he says. "Besides, it's the perfect chance for all of you to rack up some accomplishments." The word accomplishments lights up Minjun's eyes like a kid in a candy store. He starts imagining the piles of awards and accolades he could collect by participating in these trainings. His excitement skyrockets, and he's practically glowing with joy, convinced that joining the front lines was the best decision ever. But just as Minjun is basking in his newfound optimism, he spots a creepy face peeking out from his shadow. His joy vanishes faster than a magician's rabbit. "What the hell are you doing here, Tiny?" he demands of his tiny summon, which responds with an annoyingly cute smile. In an attempt to squash the cuteness, Minjun steps on Tiny, who lets out a little squeak. Minjun quickly squats over the little pest to hide it from view, casting a wary glance around to see if anyone's noticed. Thankfully, the other soldiers are still too busy moaning about their fate to pay any attention. With a sigh of relief, Minjun gently places his hand on the shadow, inquiring about Tiny's unexpected visit. Thanks to his shadow summons powers, a stream of information floods into his mind. He sees 200 Corps executives strolling down a hallway. One, a major by the look of her cap, is discussing a request for reinforcements due to an irregular monster sighting. She explains that the request came from the investigative team regarding a new dungeon that popped up in Yongo. The unnamed male executive, however, is unimpressed. "Forget the new dungeon," he says. "Let the regular soldiers deal with it. We're focusing our forces on the dungeons in our own area." The major, looking resigned, nods and accepts the orders. With that, the information stream ends, and Minjun returns to reality. He looks down at Tiny, who's still adorably squirming. Despite the cuteness, Minjun remains unyielding and steps on him again with a smirk. "Guess it's time for a day off," he says to himself, looking forward to a break from the chaos. As Minjun prepares for a well-deserved break, we're left with a lot to ponder. What's really going on in Yongo, and how will Minjun's next adventure unfold? If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more action-packed content. Don't forget to ring the bell icon so you never miss an update. And hey, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your theories on the mysterious dungeon and what you think Minjun's next move should be. Stay tuned, because things are about to get even more intense. Until next time, keep your shadows close and your friends closer. See you soon.